everybody, and welcome
Hello.
to the Macabre Podcast Universe. It's a podcast that exists to prove people wrong when they say that sequels are never better than the originals, and we are covering the DC Extended
Why are you going
Universe.
so fast?
I don't
Calm
know.
down.
I just thought it would be fun for our
Did you hate
listeners.
this movie that much?
No.
You just want to blow through it?
No, actually. So we are covering the DC Extended Universe, and this is the Macabre Podcast Universe. I'm Micah Macabre.
I'm Jordan McCaw.
And we just wanted to provide a little bit of different flavor. Maybe you're binging these, and you start this one, and you're like, whoa, this is different.
What did I miss?
Yeah, so that's why I did that. Now, I'm very interested to talk about this movie.
I know.
Because I got the impression last night, that you were kind of like, about the movie, but with maybe some positives.
Okay.
And I
got the impression from you
yes,
that you really liked this movie. Especially the second time around, you're like, that is a really good movie.
yeah, I think this is a really good movie. There are things I don't like about it, but
This was, first a airplane movie for you, right?
yeah,
Is this when...
this would have been our flight from, was it
our honeymoon?
Portland to Barcelona? That can't be what it was.
LA to Barcelona.
Yeah,
Or
that's when I
back.
watched this.
Yeah.
No, this was there. I
It
think
was
this
there?
was there.
Okay. Did you watch Homecoming on the plane? You had never seen it? Wasn't that true?
Yeah, I watched Homecoming and Wonder Woman.
Because I remember, I just have this like a little bit of a memory of you be like, oh, okay, I'm going to watch Homecoming. Not that you didn't think it was going to be good, but you know, we got Tobey Maguire, we got the train wreck of Andrew Garfield, and you're like bracing yourself. And then you're like, that was really good. Because I had seen it before you did for some reason.
It was a great movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why I convinced myself that I wouldn't like that movie before it came out, because even the Amazing Spider-Man movies, I liked them when I saw them in theaters. I just like Spider-Man so much that...
Oh, yeah. Your expectations can't not be high, you know, for you. Like, because you love it so much.
No, but I'm saying, like, the Amazing Spider-Man movies are not good.
Yeah.
But when I saw them in theaters, I was like, yeah, I like these.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's how much I like them.
I almost feel like when Homecoming came out, you didn't see it, and then you finally watched it on a plane, like, your expectations can't not be high, so you're a little like... Is this going to be another Andrew Garfield thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not.
But, yeah, watch this on a plane. I'm pretty sure it was Homecoming and this movie there, on the way there.
Uh-huh.
And then I at some point I watched Kong Skull Island. I don't know if that was on the way there or on the way home.
I watched that after you watched it, because you were like, that was good.
Yeah, yeah.
I also watched The Big Sick.
Okay, maybe I
At some
watched
point.
that at some point as well. That's the best of all of those.
Yeah.
I love that movie. But yeah, I like this movie a lot.
Okay.
I just because of the nature of our podcast, and we've already covered Marvel, so you can always go back and listen to those episodes. It's really easy, and it's nice to kind of compare it to Marvel, because that's the age we're in. And also, these movies do play off of those quite a bit. You know,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
seems like it did feel like as this movie was coming out, it was like as the DCEU was getting started, it was kind of like, who's going to make the first female-led superhero movie?
Yes.
Is it going to be Marvel or is it going to be DC? And DC beat them by like 2 years.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big deal. And but I mean, just right off the bat, like I think I like this movie better than the Thor movies. I think I like it. I mean, definitely like it better than the Ant-Man movies. I mean, just off the top of my head, that's 5 Marvels that I like it better than. I think I like it better than the first Avengers.
Okay.
Definitely Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
So it's in like my B Marvel, I think.
Uh-huh.
It's not, this is no Guardians of the Galaxy. This is no Avengers Endgame for me. This is no the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good. And I'm excited because I think we're going to kind of argue about it a little bit. So brace yourself for that, folks. But fun arguing, right?
We'll see.
Do you have any table setting for? This is only the second time I saw it.
This is my first time I ever saw it in my life.
Okay. And for me on this movie, I I did. I was kind of hoping that I wouldn't feel this way, but the first time I watched the movie, I had a huge problem with the movie, and this time I was like, maybe it works, and I still don't think it does.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of an obvious rewrite of the movie.
Yeah.
And sorry, one more sentence. It's an obvious rewrite of the movie, and I don't think that when you hear what I have to say, you're going to be like, oh, I've never heard that before. I think it's pretty common that people think this, but maybe I'm wrong because I've never talked to anyone else who think this, that the ending should be different.
That's a common thing that people think.
I'm just assuming because it feels so obvious.
You did the research.
Mm-hmm.
Like a first pass on the script, I don't know who wrote it, but was the big twist not part of it originally? Because if it wasn't originally, I could see that being a studio thing. Being like, you gotta have a big battle scene, though. That's just not gonna work that way.
I didn't find that information.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thought, though.
Because it does feel like that.
I hope that it's a unique take, but I don't think it just seems so obvious that the movie should end differently.
I know. It's interesting, too, because as we've talked this whole time, and how we've compared it to Marvel, because I don't think you can watch these without doing that.
Yeah.
And then it's also like, I feel like some of these movies' problems, Warner Brothers' issue, is they are so insecure about what they're doing. And there's no real vision for it. And we did talk about how, they are listening to fans, which is cool, but also you can't listen to them all the time. If you have a vision, you just need to do it, no matter what. But I'm just curious with this movie that, like, it's just like, if I was in charge of these things, I think it would be like, oh, you want to do something that's like against the mold, when at this point we are so ingrained with big battle scenes and stuff. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Marvel hasn't done that. Let's be the first to do it.
Yeah.
That seems like a good choice. It would obviously piss a lot of people off, but you're never not going to make people mad.
Well, so I think that I agree and disagree, because I think these movies almost do have more of an artistic vision than a lot of the Marvel movies up until like Phase 3.
Yeah, I just don't think it all comes together.
No. Well, that's the whole thing. That's like do you want to give directors their own thing, and it's a shared universe, and they can do their thing, which is what Warner Brothers, and they're like trying to do that even more. Because after Joker came out, they're sort of like, yeah, it's a multiverse, and some of the stuff connects, and now they're like, do a Robert Pattinson Batman, do a this, and I think that's kind of cool. That they're just going to be like, if you have a good idea, you can go to Warner Brothers, you can pitch that idea, and that's the movie they're going to make. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a slave to this whole shared universe.
I don't think that would have happened, though, if the first couple movies were really good.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
Which is what feels like insecurity.
Yeah.
But I guess at least it is
pivoting, though, if you want to be nice.
It is. And I do think that is a good idea in the long run. If these first couple movies were like, okay, but not like groundbreaking or anything. Right. And it's like, okay, let's take our foot off the gas.
Totally. And I mean, and that's the trade-off with Marvel is like sometimes they do have to make decisions that are less creative to serve the universe.
Yeah.
And I think on the most part, it's really worked.
Yeah.
But, like one day if Kevin Feige ever like hands the reins to someone else, maybe the Marvel universe is going to fall apart. Because it is really...
I know, that's going to be so interesting.
In a way, it's his vision. The producer, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But that's what's ultimately fascinating about comparing these two series. And I think it gets more fascinating the further they get in and the farther they try to divorce themselves from Man of Steel and Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got all that. Yeah. Okay, so the movie's directed by Patty Jenkins.
Yeah.
She has done the movie Monster, that Charlize Theron is about.
Yes. She won an Oscar for.
She did, yeah. She's directed some episodes of The Killing. She did one episode of Arrested Development.
Nice.
She's done a lot of TV, and I think this is her second movie, if I'm remembering right.
I read that she was hopefully going to do Wonder Woman back in 2005, but got pregnant.
Really?
And unexpectedly, and had to step down. And when the opportunity came back in 2017, or whatever, whenever it was, She said that this was the movie, like, it felt like her career was always leading up to making Wonder Woman. That was like her dream.
That's pretty cool.
But I did also read that, like, some people are like scratch their heads over the fact that why would they give such a big budget movie that she has not worked with before to a director who might not be as experienced because she's only done one other movie.
Yeah, which is kind of like see every Marvel director they hire.
Oh, definitely.
Because they always hire like indie people. It's about the characters for Marvel.
Yeah.
And it seems like DC decided instead of making a spectacle, let's find someone who's in touch with characters.
So how did she get back on how did they get her?
Well, so they, in 96, they were going to possibly make a Wonder Woman movie. We're going to go through a quick timeline. And that would have been produced by Ivan Reitman, the guy who did Twins, Ghostbusters.
Okay. Yeah.
Some of those he directed, some of the Kindergarten Cop. Like, he was the comedy guy back then. And he would have maybe directed it. Didn't happen. In 99, they got a little bit closer with Sandra Bullock.
Really?
Possibly starring in it.
Interesting.
And then in 2005, and there's still some more in between there, but I'm just doing the ones I thought were notable. In 2005, Joss Whedon signs on, starts writing, and he's going to direct.
Okay.
And then in 2007, he leaves the project.
Okay.
And then, I don't even know if you know about this, but George Miller was going to make a Justice League movie.
I didn't know that.
So there's a pretty cool video on YouTube. The movie was going to be called Justice League Mortal, and I think it was going to come out in like the late 2000s.
Okay.
And for those of you who forgot, George Miller is Mad Max. So he would have directed...
And Babe.
A Justice League movie. And the plot of it, if I remember right, was like everyone shows up at this funeral, all the Justice League, and then it shows the events that led up to the funeral, and then at the end you see that Flash is in the casket.
Told me that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounded like it would have been a really cool movie. And kind of a one movie, like
a one-off.
So that would have been Wonder Woman's, of course there was the TV show.
When was that?
I don't know.
Okay, but that would have been her theatrical debut.
That would have been her theatrical debut, and they had signed on this Australian model, Megan Gale.
Margot
little early for Margot.
I'm kidding.
So they had her signed on, but they canceled that movie because of delays in budgets.
Got it.
Which seems to be a common theme with George Miller. Studios don't like to work with him. And I think that's just because he's so out there. They're like, this is too risky. This is too risky. And then he does a movie and it's like, this is cool. And then Paul Feig, the guy who's done like a bunch of... did he direct Bridesmaids, Paul Feig?
I'll look it up.
And he did that movie with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy. And the newest...
Heat?
And the newest Ghostbusters, like that guy. He's a pretty big comedy guy.
Yes, it's him. Paul Feig.
Okay. Yeah, so he's very funny director. He pitched an action comedy at some point that didn't get made, which I would have liked to have seen that movie. An action comedy directed by him. That would have been very fun.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, Patty Jenkins gets offered the role, or not the role, the directing, and she signs on. And by then, they're already getting started on
production,
the DCEU and stuff.
Yeah.
Man of Steel would have already come out. So that's when they get it going.
Okay.
The movie is written by Alan Heinberg, who's done a bunch of TV, Sex and the City, Grey's Anatomy.
Who is this? Writer?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's working on the upcoming Sandman TV show.
Okay.
The story is by Zack Snyder, and I forgot to look up how to pronounce this guy's last name, but it'll sound explicit, but it's a last name, Jason Fuchs, Fuchs.
Okay.
And he has written Ice Age, Continental Drift, and Pan. So Zack Snyder and Jason, they did the story to this, and Alan Heinberg. Rupert Gregson Williams did the score. and he's done Hacksaw Ridge, Aquaman, Veep, the show Veep, Grown Ups 2, Jack and Jill. He's done a ton of Adam Sandler projects.
Wow.
I like the score to the movie.
Yeah, I thought especially the what part of the movie? I mean, just big fight scenes. The score was it was like very inspirational.
Yeah.
Score, not just like playing along with the action.
And I think he saved the
Yeah,
he saved it for like really particular moments.
Like the moment she was actualized.
Yeah, and that felt really good.
Yeah.
And then the cinematographer for the movie is Matthew Jensen, who we actually talked about in our Fantastic Four 2015 episode. But recently he's done 3 episodes of The Mandalorian. Now, I think you had some stuff to talk about. This is a cinematographer? Cinematographer.
Yeah.
Tell me what you thought about this.
This movie was so ugly to me. It was like the stuff on, what is their island called? The Amazonians, wherever they lived, was so oversaturated and so ugly. Most of the World War I stuff looked good. I think part of that, though, is because finally we had some dark colors to contrast other stuff. But, oh my gosh, this movie was so ugly. Everything looked so fake to me. Like even I think that the set designs and the costumes looked really good, but because the movie looked so bad, sometimes it looked like people were wearing costumes to me. Or like I could see people wearing makeup. And I'm not supposed to notice those things.
Yeah.
It's just supposed to like it's that suspension of disbelief thing. Oh my gosh, this movie was so ugly. I couldn't stand it. For most of the movie was so ugly for me.
Okay. It's just funny you say that because so we had to break this up over 2 nights because our house got so hot we couldn't sit there and watch the whole movie in one sitting because it was just too hot. So we watched half and we paused it and I was like, "What are you thinking so far?" And you said what you just said to me, and I got really insecure because I like how the movie looks a lot. And
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. But I was like, do I not know what makes a movie look good or not? Because I actually thought, I was like, oh, this movie's really pretty. Because I got excited that it was really colorful. Because
and I'm not saying make it look like Batman vs. Super. I'm not saying like
that movie's really pretty.
No, it looks really pretty, but you mean like dark dour, whatever.
Yeah,
like it was a choice. I think if you wanted to like make it saturated, don't make it look fake. There's got to be a way to do it.
Yeah, that's just I just totally like bought into the visual language, and I was just like into it the whole time.
Yeah.
But now I feel like maybe I don't know.
Well, it's subjective a lot of the times too. So that's just my opinion.
And I guess yeah, it depends on because anything can look good if it's used in the right context. And I think the context of this movie being really bright and colorful was really it was refreshing to me because
and I totally get that.
You know, we still, as much as we're excited that Marvel is getting more colorful, it's still trying to get over like the concrete wash look.
But you see, and I think so. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, like when the first movie came out, it was like, oh, they can do color. Like this franchise can. Everything looks so cool. That being said, a lot of that was effects.
Yeah.
So it's like a more controlled environment in that way. This, though, when they're on, like, especially the island, it looked the worst to me. The grass, and I think the idea was it was idyllic. That's what they were going for. Yeah. And I get it. It looked so fake, though. And maybe they wanted it to look like something that was unattainable. But not only unattainable, like, it just looked like it was all just bumped up to 11 on saturation. And part of the times it almost feels like, and this sounds so lame, and people are going to roll their eyes. But it's like, how much bluer can we make Chris Pine's eyes?
Yeah.
Because every movie he's in, it's like they want to make sure that we know that he's got the baby blues. And it's so annoying to me.
I love it. But also, there were a few shots, and I almost said this, and I was glad I didn't when we were watching it. But at the beginning of the movie, there were a couple like grassy shots that reminded me of the Fellowship of the Ring.
But the Fellowship looked, I don't know why. Well, you know why the Fellowship looks, because that's very bright and colorful too.
This movie does not look as good as the Fellowship.
I know you're not saying that. I know you're not saying that. However, when they shot the Fellowship, I feel like they tried to shoot a lot of it in the morning.
Yeah.
Like when the sun is like at its goldest. And it makes the grass look so pretty. This was all green screen. I don't know if like hardly, I mean, I know that they shot on location in Italy, but like that so much of it did not look like it was actually outside. It all looked like they were trying so hard to like really control the environment instead of like letting the grass be green by deciding what time of day they're shooting.
I see what you're saying.
That's just how I feel. Maybe they did think of all of that and they were like, we're going to shoot at 5 p.m. or 7 a.m., you know, for...
So it's almost like, even though it's colorful, it's just flat to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's not enough contrast.
I dig it, but I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying now. But the fact that you brought up some of the just how fake some stuff looked, I did want to read something to you. So David Ehrlich is a critic that I follow on Letterboxd, and I like to read his stuff sometimes. And I thought he had a great... This is when the movie came out. This is his Letterboxd. And he said, "The good, Gal Gadot. The purity and dedication of the gender role reversals and everything that goes along with that. This, needless to say, is the most thrilling and important factor here. Gal Gadot. The lasso. Gal Gadot. World War I setting, which excuses a lot of the inexplicably appalling special effects in its own Saturday morning serial kind of way."
Goodness, he said that.
Then he said, Gal Gadot. Then he said, Lucy Davis, Gal Gadot. All the bits in London, Gal Gadot. The actors who play the villains, Gal Gadot. And then he said, the bad, the cringeworthy framing device, where she's like gets the photo. That's what he's talking about.
Oh.
The characters played by the actors who play the villains. I don't know what he means by that.
Okay.
But I think he means like a character pretending they're not a villain when they are.
Yeah.
The inexplicably appalling special effects, which can't be entirely excused under any circumstances.
Thank you.
The incoherent final 20 minutes.
Thank you.
The complete lack of closure regarding the Amazon Lady Island. And predictably, too much of the action...
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Predictably, too much of the action is either shot too close, chaotically, or speed ramped half to death. And I pretty much agree with that.
Me too.
And he gave it 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
That's what I would give this movie.
The Gal Gadot, the story, all like those things make up so much for how ugly this movie looked and how appallingly bad the effects were. This is 2017, people. This should not look like I'm watching this on television, special effects. That's how bad they looked.
I know.
They were so bad. And it's like, and I said this to you last night, when she has her moments in action, it really looks like that's where they spent the time and the money, was to make those slow motion parts look really good, because they did.
Yeah, slow motion looks awesome.
So her action, obviously they spent the most time on that. Everything else was like, we'll wait for the last 3 weeks to figure out how we're going to do those. Oh my gosh, it was so bad.
Well, I think, and we talked about this on our Man of Steel episode, I think that how they chose to represent the power in these characters in the DCEU universe, I think just ages really poorly, and was not like a good way to go, because like the way she moves really fast and just like appears places, I just think it just doesn't look good to me. And there's a scene in Justice League, and I think it's in both versions, where she moves really fast, and it's like, oh, I could just skip this whole scene. Like, I hate how this looks so much.
Yeah.
And it is a little weird, and Marvel does get into this problem too, where you have all these superpowered characters, and it's like, I kind of wish they had given some more forethought to like, this is the visual language we want to give to this character. This is the visual language for this character.
And it's like, but wait, physics. Like sometimes it still doesn't look right.
Yeah, because I think it was, and again, this is jumping to Justice League, I think it was Patrick Willems said, it's cool to use slow motion, But when half of your movie is in slow motion, he's talking the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
And then you want to show how fast Flash is by using slow motion, there's no impact there.
Yeah.
So it's almost like maybe you should figure out a different way to show he's fast, or don't use slow motion and only use it for Flash.
See, and I know we talk about him a lot, people.
I love him. He's the best.
He is just so good at understanding why directors make decisions to tell a story.
Yeah.
So it's like Zack Snyder just likes slow motion because it makes people look pretty. Honestly, I think that's just what it is. But like what he is arguing, Zack Snyder is missing how that is not communicating things adequately to the audience.
Absolutely.
Which is what a director's job is to tell the story the best way that the director can with the vision of the script.
Yeah.
And that is like so frustrating when you hear those words and it's like, yeah, so true. And I haven't even seen the Snyder cut and it's like, he's right.
Well, and like in this movie, they do a lot of slow motion and I am a sucker for it. Like when slow motion happens, we're like trained like a dog hearing a bell. We're trained that this is cool.
Yeah.
But when you watch the slow motion, now, unfortunately, I think to myself, like, what's the purpose behind the slow motion?
Uh-huh.
And in this movie, I think like 50%, even though they don't use a lot of slow motion, probably 50% of it you could scrap because it doesn't.
Probably.
It's not telling you anything. It's just like, cool, she's flipping.
Yeah, I think the part, though, that I'm thinking of specifically where it'll be fast and then slow motion for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
When it's showing her fighting poses in that little village in like Germany or France. I can't remember where they are. That I thought was effective because that was like...
Those are like comic book panels.
Comic book panels for one. And then it felt like the first time we were truly seeing her in combat. So I thought that stuff was pretty good in that scene. And
I do want to stress, I really like this movie.
Yeah.
We're just pointing out some of the flaws, but I don't know that a better movie would have existed. I think it really does benefit that it's directed by a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just think this movie would have been so sexualized with the male behind the camera.
Yeah.
Unless it was Joel Schumacher.
Yeah.
He'd have been like, hey, let's check out this Chris Pine guy. Okay, so done all that. The movie comes out June 2nd, 2017. The budget's only $150 million.
Okay.
Which for a superhero movie, domestically it makes $412, and worldwide it makes $818.
That's pretty good.
Which makes all the people who say we don't need female-led movies go, crap. I guess they can make female-led movies, and crap, I guess they can make money. We want more of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And this was really interesting to me. Gal Gadot was offered a villain role in Man of Steel.
Really?
So I'm assuming that would probably be General Zod's like right-hand woman.
Yep. Sorry.
She was pregnant and had to turn it down.
Okay. I also read this, and I don't know if you found this. This is also in the trivia, so sometimes it's like, is this true? But it had a lot of details, and I feel like it was true. By the time in her career of this movie, she was about ready to just be done. Because she was having a really hard time getting anything. Sounds like she could have had something.
Yeah.
But she was having a really hard time, and she couldn't handle anymore the 15-hour plane rides back to Israel.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just really wearing on her. She wasn't getting anything. And it's like, I guess this just isn't for me. But then she gets an audition for Wonder Woman. She does not know it's Wonder Woman. The script is like really ambiguous that she reads from.
Oh, okay.
And then like she's about to go back to Israel, but she gets a call back. And that's when she finds out that she's shortlisted to be Wonder Woman.
Cool.
Which was like really shocking to her because like that's a huge role and I haven't really done anything. Are you sure? Kind of thing. You know,
yeah.
That's an interesting story. It's also kind of hard to believe because she's so gorgeous.
Well, and I think she is in a Fast and Furious before this.
Yeah,
but,
I think so too. But maybe she had a hard time even getting that role.
Well, and sometimes when you look through an actor's filmography, you know, you see maybe you see like 1 year off, but a lot can happen to your mental process when you're trying to be an artist in a year.
And two, like, I mean, I haven't looked at her stuff yet, but let's say an actor has said that they've always had a hard time getting roles, and then you're like, what are you talking about? They're in all those TV shows. And it's like, yeah, one guest appearance in a show.
Yeah.
That's not what they want. Like, she wants to probably be Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
You know, that she wants to be a movie star. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
But that's just, I'm glad she was pregnant during that time so that she wasn't just a villain and then not able to be Wonder Woman.
Yeah, right. I know, because she's so good.
Then I'm somehow or other, I mean, she must have stuck with Zack Snyder because he's the one who cast her.
Yeah.
In Batman v Superman, which, hey, if
oh,
that's...
really? He did?
He cast her.
Oh, I don't think I just assumed that, like, Wonder Woman was already in the works and they had already casted someone.
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
So remember, Patty Jenkins comes on in 2015.
Yeah.
They would have already been filming Batman v Superman.
Oh, that is interesting.
So Zack Snyder, so she must have like stuck in his brain, like, but that we need to get her in something. So he cast her as Wonder Woman, and Patty Jenkins had this quote that I wanted to read, which speaks to the casting. She said, "I remember when I read in the news that Wonder Woman had been cast, and my heart sank. I'm sure we wouldn't have made the same choice, and then I started paying attention to her and watching her and looking at her, and it was just unbelievable. Frankly, I think they did a better job than I could have, because I don't know that I would have secured or scoured the earth as hard to find her. They were looking for all the same things I would have looked for, all the values that Wonder Woman stands for, exuding from someone in an honest way, and boy did they find it. She shares every quality with Wonder Woman, and that's no joke. It's one of those rare things. You need someone who can appear to be Wonder Woman on screen. Every once in a while, there's a superhero casting that transcends because that person is so authentic to the character that it becomes identified with them, like Linda Carter or Christopher Reeve."
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah. And then finally...
That makes you warm and fuzzy.
The movie was shot on film.
Okay.
Which explains why you hate how it looks. You hate movies shot on film, right?
Absolutely, dude.
And then... For reshoots, Godot was 5 months pregnant, so they had to put a green cloth on her stomach so they could edit it out in post-production.
Man.
Kind of funny. So that's what I got.
Okay, so Gal Gadot's first thing was...
We talked about her 2 weeks ago on
I don't
Batman
know if
v
I
Superman.
went through it, though. Remember, I think we said, let's save it.
Oh, okay.
Maybe? No, because I remember saying, oh yeah, she's in Date Night and Night and Day, and I don't remember her in those things.
That's right. I did just listen to that whole episode.
We were just talking about... So her first... We didn't talk about this.
Okay.
So the first thing she was in is this show called Shemesh in 1999, one episode, I think, and it looks like an Israeli sitcom.
Cool.
One episode. And then she's in Bubo or Bubat, which looks like another Israeli show. And then so that from 1999 to 2007 between those times. And then in 2009, Fast and Furious. The first one.
Really?
The first one's just called Fast and Furious,
no,
right?
the first one came out in 2001, I think.
Oh, okay.
So that'd be the fourth one.
Oh, okay. But so then she was in that, obviously big deal. And then she's like in an episode of Entourage, 3 episodes of The Beautiful Life. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, she's obviously doing action stuff because of Date Night and Night and Day and Fast and Furious. But it is a lot of shows that I don't think anyone's ever heard of.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting... She's like a regular on Fast and Furious, though. She's in Fast 5 and in Furious 7.
Okay. So,
well, regular in quotes, because there's like a million of those movies.
There's 10, Jordan, okay?
A million.
We don't want to make our fan base mad.
She falls under the umbrella for me, as Margot Robbie does. She was born a woman. And I don't... If anyone... if I Googled pictures of her as a child and there are pictures of her, I don't think that's her. She was just born a woman.
Well, she was molded from clay from Zeus.
She was literally molded from clay. It's crazy.
It is funny. I mean, the way Patty Jenkins describes her and encompassing Wonder Woman, it is just that rare thing. Like you're okay. So you're watching this movie. There's an Amazonian secret island. Mm-hmm. It's superheroes, and she's molded from clay from Zeus. And you look at her, and you're like, okay,
absolutely, not even questioning.
You're like, that's fine. Sure, yeah, I get it. This makes sense.
That's actually the easiest thing for me to accept in this movie.
You're almost like, why did they have to show the kids? Because I get it. I get it.
I know, right? Okay, Chris Pine. Have we talked about him?
No.
Okay. Chris Pine, people. He is the most recent Captain Kirk in Star Trek. Sorry.
Isn't he the only one that's not William Shatner?
I have no idea. I'm not familiar enough.
Go ahead and text me, Mike. I think he's the only other Captain Kirk because
but aren't there other?
There's like Captain Picard.
Oh, that's right.
Because besides the Star Trek movies, I think it's all like the other movies and the other the J.J. Abrams movies. I mean,
yep.
That's like an alternate timeline, and everything else is like it's like Star Wars, where it's like no, there's only Luke Skywalker is only Mark Hamill.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, never thought about it.
That's kind of cool.
I thought he was a good casting for Captain Kirk.
Oh yeah, he's great in those movies.
I haven't seen those movies I've only seen 2 of them.
Would our audience ever want us to tackle like the Star Trek conglomerate? Let us know.
Please no. Please don't.
I kind of want to.
That's so many movies. That's so much.
What we would do is we would do like the Shatners, and then we would take a break, and then we would do like the
But how many Shatner movies are there?
I think there's 4.
Okay.
And then we'd do the other movies, and then we'd do the J.J. Abrams movies.
Okay,
so it'd be like
doable.
11 or 12
If I'm getting
total.
through this series right now, I guess I can do that one.
But I don't know if people want to hear that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just say, no, we just want you to tackle the new movies.
Yeah. How many are there? 3 or 4?
There's 3 new movies.
Okay.
But I just feel like to really understand that series, you'd need to watch the others, to like truly.
Oh, I get that. Yeah. Every time I've seen a Star Trek thing, it's like, I just feel like I don't quite get it.
Yeah.
Even with the J.J. Abrams. Like I thought that the first 2 were good. I haven't seen them since theaters, but it always has felt like I don't quite get the feeling that I think the fans get,
And I think if we were gonna do it on this podcast, it would feel the same way if we were just like, hey, we're covering Star Wars, but we're just gonna do the new trilogy. Be like, you can't do that. You got to talk about everything. So anyway, let us know what you think, fans.
So Chris Pine's first acting role was in ER. And then so in the same year, he got ER, The Guardian, and CSI Miami. He is famously in Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement. And then he's in Confession, 6 Feet Under, Just My Luck. Oh, weird, a Lindsay Lohan movie. What is this? He was he was a romantic comedy guy for a good while because people think he's so cute. And then in 2009, he does Star Trek. And I feel like since then, he's done still done the romantic thing, but is in a lot more action things too.
Well, in this movie, he gets to play the best of both worlds.
Yes, true. He is also in Micah's favorite movie, This Means War.
Oh man, that's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
People Like Us, Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, so then when Wonder Woman comes around, the year before that, he was in Hell or High Water, The Finest Hours, Star Trek Beyond.
He's really good in Hell or High Water.
Didn't you say that was a boring movie?
I didn't like that movie.
Who wrote that movie?
But it's the guy who wrote Sicario.
That's right, yeah.
But everybody loves that movie. It's like me and Bobby don't like it.
He got nominated for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But he's amazing in it. Him and Ben Foster, they're great.
Well, good for
I think
him.
Chris Pine in this movie is so good.
He is good.
I love him in this movie.
Yeah.
He's great. I'm crazy about him in this movie.
Oh, simmer down.
It's just I think like that review I read, the gender role reversal thing is so fun that he's like what the girl would be in another movie. But he just commits fully to all the stuff he does. And the chemistry between him and Gal.
Chemistry
Get out
good.
Of here. Get out of
here. No,
here.
he is good. I feel like I always have to be convinced again every time I see Chris Pine in something that he is good. I know it's crazy, but I just and this is a totally me thing. I'm going to make people roll their eyes again in this episode. But I just think he's too pretty, but not in a Cillian Murphy way.
Well, Cillian Murphy, yeah.
He's too beautiful.
Let's not talk about how cool he is. That'll take us too long.
But Chris Pine, it just is like he's too pretty that when I watch something with him in it, it's like, am I gonna I have to get past that. For me, and that's my dumb opinion about it.
But I think
I'm not saying he's bad because he's not.
I know. But I think casting him in this is just so perfect. He's so perfect in this movie.
He is really good in this movie.
I think like him and Godot are probably like two of my favorite performances in the whole DC universe. Like all of these movies.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, and it by like a long shot.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
so good. I love him in this.
Jesse Eisenberg was so good. Robin Wright, who I think we've covered.
We have, but I don't remember in what.
Me neither, but Unbreakable.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Lucy Davis, we have also covered because she's in Shaun of the Dead. She's also Pam in the UK Office. Well, let's give her real due. Dawn in The Office.
Yeah.
And then Connie Nielsen plays Hippolyta, her mother.
And she's in Nobody,
She's
right?
in Nobody.
Okay.
Is it just Nobody or Mr. Nobody?
Mr. Nobody's the Jared
Leto movie.
Jared Leto movie.
She's also in Gladiator. Basic. Inheritance. Sea Fever. I haven't seen her in like anything but these two movies, I think. Well, I've seen her in Gladiator, I guess. But she must play his wife.
I think so. She's really good in this.
She's great. Her. Danny Huston, who is the guy that snorts the stuff, and it's also one of the worst effects I've ever seen in a movie.
It's a bad effect. The only thing I like about it is the peripheral shaking of the camera.
You're always gonna.
That's always cool, but his effect, no.
He is in Succession, and that's all that really matters, right?
He's just one of those guys. Every time you're like, oh, he's in this.
He's good.
He's every time he shows up, you're like, well, I'm gonna like at least one performance in this movie.
He's in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Also,
that's
21 Grams, No One Left Behind, Yellowstone. Do you think he's a character actor?
Yeah, I would classify him as that.
David Thewlis, we've talked about because he plays Professor Lupin.
Yeah.
And he can do no wrong.
So here's what I think about him. He's really good in this movie, but when he becomes the God of War, it's like, that's like, you can just, they have to, he's not an old man, but he's not like a buff.
No, I get it.
So
I get it.
Weird.
This is what's funny too. Well, they cast him because he's old and frail. He has to walk with a cane, so you wouldn't suspect that he'd be Ares. We've seen it, people. But they have done one of the funniest things I've ever seen them do in a movie. When it's revealed that he's Ares and it shows him falling from the sky and he's like shirtless in a cave, super buff. That's not the funny part. They kept the mustache on him as if we didn't know who they were talking. It's like, I'm not an idiot. I know this is he's narrating his own story. I know it's him.
Yeah, they kept the mustache. It's crazy.
Oh, it was so dumb and so funny.
Yeah, that was a bad decision.
But when he becomes Ares, like the whole gets the armor on and stuff.
I almost wish his when he turned into Ares, his face fell off or something. Because I just he just doesn't look. He looks evil in a conniving sort of way, not in a brute force kind of way. So even with the mask on, I was like, it's David Thewlis. This is kind of funny.
I know. If someone wants to see him in a really conniving, disgusting performance, watch Fargo season 2.
Yeah.
He is nuts in that season and so good. And then Saeed Tagamui, I don't think I pronounced the last name correctly, but he plays, let me get the name, Samir, who's part of the crew.
Yeah. I liked him a lot.
He was good.
He had the red hat on, right?
Yeah.
He was great.
He's in G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, Lahane, Vantage Point, Embattled, John Wick 3. Oh, he's the elder in John Wick 3.
Oh.
The part of the movie where I was like, dang it.
Well, let's save all that.
Okay.
We're going to talk about John Wick soon enough.
Ewan Bremner plays Charlie, who's in Trainspotting.
Yeah.
1 and 2. And he's also in AVP, Creation Stories, Gutterbee, First Cow. He's in First Cow?
Yeah, he is.
He?
I don't remember.
Oh.
Like I remembered a
He's
name
great.
from that
I
movie.
always like when he pops up.
Yeah, he's great. I think he's just like in that little town where they're training.
Yeah. Eugene Brave Rock plays the chief. He's in The Revenant.
His name is Brave Rock, his last name?
Eugene Brave Rock.
Very cool.
Yes. So he's in The Revenant, Reign of Judges, Shadow Wolves, Resident Alien. A lot of action stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then Elena Anaya plays Dr. Moreau.
And anyone who can pull off the name
Do
Eugene.
you think that's a play on Dr. Moreau?
Oh, yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
But I just want to say anyone who can pull off the name Eugene, that's pretty cool. Because Eugene's a cool name, but like...
It's kind of a square name, though, too.
Yeah.
Like, it could be very easily.
But you look at him and it's like, Eugene, cool. You're pulling that off.
Elena is in The Skin I Live In, Room in Rome, Van Helsing. A lot of stuff.
Wow, this is very thorough. You're going through...
She's Spanish.
You're going through it all. What did you think of Dr. Poison?
So that's her.
Yeah.
I really liked her design a lot. I loved the face mask.
The face mask was cool.
I thought it was really cool, and I'm like, people should maybe do this more in movies. It's just so visually interesting to me. And then when the mask gets removed, that effects looked really good.
Yeah. Although anytime someone has like part of their cheeks removed, the first thing I think of every time is, you want to know how I got these scars?
Yeah. And I like in the movie how they did not, I mean, maybe I missed it, but I don't think they explained what happened to her other than like experiment gone wrong, maybe.
Yeah, they just let you kind of guess, which I thought was cool.
Yes, I really like that. And I think it was a really good story part. You know, that's the point when Ares is like big and bad, whatever. But he's like basically trying to convince Wonder Woman that no human is worth it. Like they're all evil. And when the face mask gets ripped off her, it's like revealing the ugliness inside her.
Yeah.
On the outside, and how she like doesn't deserve to live. I think that like symbolically that all was really good. And of course with her deciding like, no, everyone deserves a chance.
Yeah.
And doesn't kill her. I really liked that part. So I was actually not a fan though of how she acted for a lot of it, where it's like, ooh, I'm eccentric and like I like to do all these weird mannerisms because I'm so kooky and weird. I don't know. It's just cheesy to me, but
I sort of dug it, but I could go both ways. I feel like if I watched it again, I might be like, eh.
But she did have really good parts though, like when Chris Pine was trying to convince her to like let him see her stuff. She looked very haunted, and I think she had that she was really good in those moments. Mm-hmm. But with the whole like kooky weirdness, I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's whatever.
I think it's cool that having this in World War I is really cool.
Absolutely. Love it.
And I also liked how this movie, it's cool that she's working on formulas and gas, because that's famously, World War I is when they were using all mustard gas and stuff like that, and they had to change like the peace accords to not allow people to use that stuff in war. Well, it's so brutal.
I read too that I think so in the comic books it's World War II this run, but they decided on World War I because that was like that's the Great War. That was the time when everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, we are all like this is hell in a handbasket."
Well, it was called the War to End All Wars.
Yeah, so it makes so much sense that they changed it.
Well, the war is not cool, but it's a cool setting.
No. But I'm sure the comic book in World War II run is really good. I also think it's a good choice too, though, because we get so many World War II movies.
Yeah.
And like hardly any World War I besides like 1917 is like the most recent one I can think of. So that's just nice too, because
it's just refreshing.
It's refreshing. I mean, we don't get enough like trench wars. Like that is just such a terrifying and interesting part of history.
You have to think that they had to think, okay, this movie is going to remind people of Captain America, and he fought in World War II.
Yeah.
So let's put her in World War I.
That's a good point too.
Because
sure that was mentioned
throughout the movie. I was kind of like comparing the two. Yeah. In my head, just like subconsciously.
Yeah.
And I do like First Avenger more, but they're kind of like it'd be fun to be like, okay, if you were double featuring, like you could watch these back to back, and that would be kind of a fun double feature. You know?
I also read too that the Lucendorf guy was real.
Oh, really?
A real person.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like when they do, well,
historical fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like when they have Jon Stewart show up in Batman v Superman, though. Remember, we talked about that in the
newscasters?
Yeah, who's like making the jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we dive in?
Yeah.
So the movie begins, and we see Diana, and she is working at this art gallery, and she gets the photo from Batman v Superman.
This and the very last scene in the movie, it's
just cut the scenes.
Absolutely cut. I get it. I get why you think you needed to put it, because she was in BVS.
Yeah.
And people will be so confused if we just start.
But they won't be.
I know.
Were people confused when Captain Marvel just started and it was in the 90s? No. They weren't.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to but I don't think that that's a Patty Jenkins move.
I don't think
that's
so
a
either.
Warner Brothers move.
Yeah.
And what have we learned after going? This is the fourth movie in DC. The worst part about these movies is when they try to set up or incorporate their previous movies. Mm-hmm. And as much as some stuff is lunky in Marvel, for the most part, it's always like, oh, that's cool. They brought that in.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Like Nebula and him are okay. Thanos is her dad. Okay. In Endgame, she's going to have a moment. That's cool.
Yeah.
This is like, oh man, why'd they have to remind me of Batman v Superman? Crap. Yeah. I just wanted to watch Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But, so then she looks at the photo and then she's gonna
have a flashback of her origin story, I guess.
Yeah. So then we meet little Diana. Mm-hmm. She's a little girl and she wants to be a warrior, but her mom
forbids it. And so then her mom tells her the story of basically the Amazonian women's history.
It's exposition time, folks.
Exposition time, blah, blah, blah. They did a really good job visually, though. It looks like a painting.
Yeah.
I really like it. But this is when I realized they love these things in this series. They love exposition dumps.
One thing I know I'm interjecting, but this series, the two, besides Suicide Squad, the two movies before this, they're really focusing on the God aspect of they're saying superheroes are gods. That is like Zack Snyder's vision of the world. It's not people who are extraordinary. They are gods. So it makes sense that these movies are like, this is epic. This is Zeus.
This one is literally epic, though, because it is mythology. Yeah. So, it makes sense. But it's because of the other ones, it's like, yeah, we get it.
It's that classic thing that people say where it's like, superheroes are the modern mythology. And they're really trying
We've seen Unbreakable.
They're really trying to play that up in these movies. That's like their thesis.
Yeah. And this one, it really does make sense. More than the other ones. Because
I'm into all Zeus the setup in this.
Zeus, Ares, I don't know if they mentioned Achilles. Hippolyta's a real character. Diana's a real character in Greek mythology. Was it Greek or Roman that they're focused on?
Well, I think Zeus is Greek, right?
Well, maybe Greek and Roman share a lot of the same characters.
They do?
Their names are just a little different, and I can't
I've never been that interested in mythology of gods.
Yeah.
So I'm
Hercules is pretty messed up, bro.
I'm not interested in them. I've just never done research about them,
Yeah. So find out that Zeus basically created a safe haven for the Amazonian women, and they're like a perfect society, while Ares basically delivered the rest of humans with destruction and evil. So Diana's growing up in this idyllic community of women warriors. Her mom won't let her fight because she doesn't want her to know the bad. She wants to protect her from it. Obviously, she's protecting her from herself, that we find out later.
Yeah.
But in secret, Robin Wright is training her.
Yes. And then eventually her mom's like, okay, she must be trained, but you're going to train her harder, better, faster, stronger. And there's that really cool Daft Punk sequence.
Yeah.
And so she's training her, and then Diana crosses her wrists, her wristbands, and it shoots this like orb beam,
Mm-hmm.
which hints that she is the God Killer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you? I had forgotten about this whole she's the God Killer, not the weapon. I guess
Yeah, because did she think that the sword and the shield were the God Killer?
That's what she was told.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why, like, when she leaves, she breaks in and takes that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really see the purpose of that reveal at the end of the movie, but maybe I'm just forgetting or missing something. It just sort of feels like, okay, she's the God Killer. Why did they not want to tell her that? And I'm asking
that
you.
kind of thing. I don't know, like why they. I mean, it's a pretty common movie thing, I think, where the parent is just afraid.
Yeah.
And doesn't want her child to know that the fate of the world rests on her shoulders and wants to protect her from that. And also she is a mom, so she just wants to protect her in general. She doesn't want her, like, she even said Hippolyta, that this may never come. Ares might have been, like, he was injured. He might be dead the last time we saw him, which of course Robin writes, like, you're so naive, you're being ignorant on purpose because you just want to protect your daughter because you don't want her to die. I think it's as simple as that. So later on when she finds out, I think it's just a movie thing. Like, she has to figure it out for herself.
Yeah. I guess maybe the reveal would be more impactful to me if the whole movie she wasn't like, the fate of the world rests in my hands. You know, because that feels like a moment where she finds out she's the God Killer and reluctantly she's like, I guess I have to do this. But the whole movie, she's been saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So when she does it, I'm like, yeah, she was always going to do it. She's been determined to do it.
But I think it like kind of changes by that part of the movie, because when she goes with Chris Pine out into the world, she at that moment, she doesn't totally know that she's the God Killer, right? She has the sword and the shield, and that's all she needs in her mind to do it. And so she thinks that she can do it because of those things, but what she has to, I don't think it's as big as a theme as everything else. Yeah. But by the time she figures it out, she's like, oh, I have to believe in myself to do it. I think it's just the movie thing. Yeah. You know?
It feels like that's a comic book thing in the comic books, and they just had to include it, I guess is how it feels to me.
I think it's that classic thing where it's like, it's not the object, it's what's within you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Okay. And I'm not saying it's bad. Maybe someone's listening to this and like, what are you talking about, Micah?
I mean, I don't know Wonder Woman like at all. So
yeah, but it just felt kind of like, okay, when I saw it.
Yeah.
And I'm not really even saying it's bad. I just am like, it just didn't make me feel anything when I find out she's the God Killer.
Yeah.
And I think it's supposed to. But
so Chris Pine crash lands into the sea of the Amazonian island. Do you know what the island is called?
I no, I don't remember.
Okay. Gal.
Cool.
Yeah, Diana saves him. I think it's all good. And then the Germans are trying to track him down.
And we have a pretty sweet action sequence.
Yeah.
Where the Germans attack the beach, and then the Amazonian women like come out and they're like shooting arrows.
I think you can just call them Amazonians.
Amazonians, yes. And yeah, because there aren't Amazonian men, are there? How Robin Wright like jumps in the air, shoots 3 arrows in slow motion. Yeah. That I was like, very cool.
But at one point you were like, if you were a German, wouldn't you just be freaking out? I think I would. I think I was like, I think I'd still be on the boat, too afraid to get off.
Well, I think that's such a.
It's not a complaint. It's just what would I do in this situation?
Like, I think in that situation, I'd be like, I guess I have to kill these people, and I would just start firing as well.
Yeah.
But I was like, I think I was invested enough in the movie that I was like, holy crap, this would be the most insane thing in the world if you are, because when the Germans find him outside, it's like stormy and crazy, and then he reaches out to touch the plane that's downed, and it's like this idyllic beach.
And the waters are so clear and blue.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love all of that.
Yeah, it's great. Robin Wright dies. She gets shot. And Diana is horrified by all of this. Like, what's going on? Who is this? They interrogate Chris Pine with the lasso, which I didn't know was like a truth serum.
Yeah,
like,
it compels you to tell the truth.
Tells the truth. I don't. The whip is so cool.
The lasso rules. I love
so cool.
that it glows.
Yes, it's very cool.
The design is awesome, and when she's interrogating Chris Pine, and he doesn't want to say that he's a spy. He also doesn't know what's going on. I think that scene is so great because, like you said, you didn't know what the lasso was, and you leave that scene and you're like, I know what the lasso is. I get it.
Yeah.
That scene's great.
Yep.
She finds out he's a spy, finds out about World War I,
and she finds out about the Great War, to which she translates as it is the war to end wars. That's what it was known as at the time. So she is like, okay, that means we have to be involved, which of course her mom is like, this is not our fight. It's man's problem. And we just need to step back. It kind of is like, a little bit reminds me of Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like Wakanda. Like some people were like, it's their issue. We're doing good. To which was it T'Challa was like,
no, Michael B. Jordan.
Killmonger.
He's like, our brothers are dying
in
the streets of L.A.
That's what it was. Yeah, so it's like, you have the resources to help. Why would you not help? Which is the camp that Diana is in.
Yeah.
Like, this was destined for them. This is why Zeus put him here.
Man, Black Panther's so good.
I know. But Zeus put him out here so that the Amazonians could train and be ready for this moment. Like, this is the moment. I think that's also cool.
Yeah, I love it.
But her mom's forbidding it. There is a scene where Chris Pine is naked.
Yeah, and he says, I'm above average.
Yeah.
I know you were rolling your eyes. I'll just say it. I love all of
because it's a role reversal.
And it's funny. I think it's like written really well. It's like actually funny stuff. I love all of the sexual tension. To me, I'm just like giddy, like at how funny I thought it all was.
Okay.
I think it's great.
Okay.
And I think it's just, especially because I just adore Chris Pine in this movie. And Gal, definitely.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can overstate how good Chris Pine is in this movie.
Get over it.
I love him. I love all of the writing of them.
Of course,
I just
the
think
man
is like,
focus on the man.
Oh, come on. I love Wonder Woman. But that's all great. And then they get on a boat and they're going. Mom is eventually like, I know I can't stop you.
I can't stop you.
I like that.
Yep.
And they get on the boat and there's this whole discussion about like sleeping with women.
Mm-hmm.
Very charming.
Mm-hmm.
I like that scene a lot too. And then they get to London. And this is here's another thing about me. I love jokes about three little kids stacked in a trench coat, pretending to be adults, and I love fish out of water comedy.
Yep.
So when you have Princess Diana walking through the streets...
Princess Diana?
Yeah. Her name's Diana, and she's a princess.
Oh, I'm just thinking of Princess Diana.
Yeah.
You know, the Princess Diana?
Yeah. I
don't think anyone ever referred to her as Princess Diana. That's why it's funny to me.
Well, yeah, no, but she is, right?
She's about to introduce herself as Diana, Princess of...
Yeah.
But he says,
but I guess
Diana Prince.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But when she's putting on all the clothes, I'm sitting over there and I'm like, fish out of water, baby. I'm loving all of this. It's all very funny. I love the outfit
that she lands on.
Yeah, she looks very cool. And what's her name? Dawn from The Office. She's so funny.
She's great. Yeah.
And
I read that this scene was an homage to an old Superman movie or an old Superman of when I think what I was reading was like Clark or Superman fish out of water moment. And I'm assuming when they put the glasses on her, that's an homage to that.
Oh, cool.
And then her having issue with the revolving door is also something that is part of it wasn't a Superman thing. And then there was something else too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But eventually Chris Pine is attacked in this alleyway because he
the
has
mugging. That's also was part of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He has Dr. Moreau's notebook.
Uh-huh.
And this is when he discovers kind of like, oh, this girl's insane.
Mm-hmm.
She
can stop bullets.
Yeah, because she stops a bullet. Yeah, that's the moment. And very cool. Love all that sequence. Then they go to the generals of the British Army, and they're saying, we have this notebook. And so there's this whole...
Throughout all of this, Diana will come into the room with Chris Pine against his wishes. And every time men are like,
what's this woman doing
What is
in
this
here?
woman doing in here? So the first time is when we're introduced to, I want to say Lupin, Ares. I'm just going to call him Ares.
What?
Yeah.
You're giving it away.
And he notices her. I mean, all the men do, and they're all getting really mad about it.
Yeah.
And then the other part, when it is like generals in a room, and they have, like you're talking about the Notebook, she can read the language. No one else can, so she becomes an asset. Although they all still don't like that she's in there.
Yeah, all that stuff's great. I like that scene where she's yelling at the general, and she says, "Where I come from, the generals don't sit in rooms and not fight." That's cool. So there's this whole part of the plot, the macro plot of this movie is that they're about to reach an armistice between the Allies and the Germans, but Dr. Moreau and what's his name, Lusendorf. They're working on this gas chemical that will really like kill everybody, kind of thing.
Yep.
And so
Ludendorff.
And so the
Dr. Moreau. We keep saying Moreau.
Dr. Poison.
Yeah.
So they want to basically like kind of sign this armistice and then sneak attack the world and keep the war going and take over the world. So the British are they don't want Chris Pine and Diana to go and take care of this poison problem. That's the macro plot of the movie.
Why again? You just said it.
I just said it. So I'm not going to explain it again because the audience will hear it twice.
Okay. This part of the movie, I just got kind of lost. But it was a me thing, not a movie thing.
Well, you've said this before, and I don't think this is bad. You don't do super well with the big stuff.
Yeah.
You're more keyed into the characters and the small moments, which those are what stick with you anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like before the movie, I wouldn't have been able to tell you this whole thing about the armistice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
this is also your second time. This is my first time. So
right. The second time you pick up some of that stuff, you know.
Third, fourth, fifth, seventh,
100th.
Yeah.
So then Chris Pine's like, okay, we got to put together a team, and we're gonna go take care of this. And of course she's like, yes. So they
but their expectations are different. He is like not really thinking about combat necessarily. It's like infiltrating. She is like, we need to go fight.
Yeah, because she's like, we're gonna go to the god.
Yep.
Ares. I'm gonna kill him, and then the war's gonna be over.
It's that simple to her. And like he the whole time is like, it is not, you have no idea what's going on. It is not that simple. The conflict between those two expectations are really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, they get a team. They get all the people we talked about, the three dudes.
Yeah.
And they go, they go to the trenches.
Yep, they go to the trenches.
So as they're getting there, though, they pass people in a village who are like having to evacuate where a battle just happened.
Yeah.
And she is seeing like people, like dead people, injured people, children,
she wants to help all
women,
of them.
orphans. Yeah, she wants to help all of them. Chris Pine is telling her, eventually when they get to the trenches, a woman is telling her like, there is no food. They've taken everything. They've killed us. You have to help me. And she's like, okay, I will help you. And Chris Pine's like, you can't help everybody.
Yeah.
And that like really does not make sense to her and really like disappoints her that he says that. But that is like the naivety that she's coming in with.
So I want to stress like scenes like this, because scenes like this are building to a moment where she realizes that the world is not as simple as she thought it was.
Not as simple as the Greek myth.
Yeah, and this whole movie, you can't convince me otherwise after watching it twice. It is building to her as a character understanding this is complicated.
Yeah.
And humanity in itself is not just cut and dry.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a god of war, you kill him, and now everything's good again.
There's too many people playing this game.
Yeah. So the movie's building to that as its statement, which if that's one of its statements...
You've just made one of the best superhero movies ever made.
You've made like top 5.
Yeah.
And we all just say like, I wish some of the effects were better.
Yeah.
That's all we say about it. Okay. So just plant that flag there. Just remember that flag's there. We're going to get to it really hard at the end here. So they go to the bunkers, and then this scene rules. I love this scene where she gets out of the bunker, and they're saying it's no man's land, which is a real term they use in World War I. And they're in these trenches, and she's like, I don't care. I'm going to go help these people. And what's cool, it reminds me of that scene in Lord of the Rings where the ring wraith says, the Wraith King, he
no
says,
man can kill me.
And she says, I am no man. And it's,
it gives me chills just even thinking about it.
Yeah, and this reminds me of that where it's like, it's kind of a play on words where it's like, it's no man's land, but
and
she's a
like,
woman.
Okay, I'll go.
She's a woman, so she can get through it. You know, it's kind of like a fun.
I thought that this scene looked really good with
It's awesome.
The like flashing of all of the bullets hitting off of her shield.
Yeah.
And the destruction that they're walking through, like all the burnt trees and stuff. I thought that looked really good.
Yeah, it's great. And so she just like attacks this front. This is the first real Wonder Woman scene. And she's in the costume and stuff, and it's just like, yeah.
I love leading up to that moment. She keeps trying to disrobe and like, go fight. Yeah. And he's like, you cannot, you are like naked because of her costume is like her shoulders are showing and stuff. That's just so good.
And then they continue the attack. They go to this little town and there's a nice battle sequence there as well.
Yeah.
Some of those effects are like when she picks up the tank, it's like, ooh, woof, that looked bad.
Oh yeah, but it's
still pretty cool.
Yeah, she even takes down the sniper in the tower.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying things now. But that was the scene where she goes into the building, and that's all those little slow motion shots that I thought were effective.
Yeah.
Good.
So, I mean, for the most part, that sequence is cool. And then they take the picture that will be the reason Lex Luthor is able to...
They're obsessed with this picture. Get over it. So the picture's taken, and the town is celebrating. Because
this is a great scene.
5 people came and saved the town, and I thought that one moment when she's looking at the chief, and I think people are trying to pay him, like give him money for what he did.
Okay,
that's what it looked like, and he's like, no. And then later on, the guy from Trainspotting, what's the character name?
Do not remember what his character. Charlie.
He's playing the piano in that bar. Like, that's very sweet. People are dancing in the streets. It's just such a celebration. And we have more chemistry between Chris Pine and Diane.
Yeah, he teaches her how to dance.
Okay, his name is Steve. Steve and Diane.
Yeah.
Diana. He teaches her how to dance. It starts snowing, and she's never experienced snow before.
That's great.
Very sweet. And then they have their intimate moment.
Yes. I love that part of the movie. It's just so sweet and nice. And then they have to go to this ballroom.
A gala.
Thrown
by the Germans because they're celebrating a battle that was won.
Yeah.
And Dr. Poison will be there, and that's who they want.
Yeah. So they go to that, shenanigans ensue. I mean, is there anything you want to say about that sequence in particular?
That's the moment when Chris Pine's talking to Dr. Poison, and he almost gets her, but then Diana walks in, and he's kind of like, one, probably taken with her beauty, and then also like, crap, she's not supposed to be here.
Yeah,
so
and I love
she's
got the sword, and she's gonna kill him.
She believes Ludendorff is Ares.
Ares, yeah.
So yeah, like you said, she's about to kill him.
She doesn't, and then like some gas goes off
in a nearby village,
and she gets on a horse, goes to the village.
Does not affect her.
Doesn't affect her, no. But she sees like everyone's dying in there, and this is another moment. Plant your flag, where she's saying, like, she's seeing the complexities of this, and just how like evil humanity can be for no reason, because she does not see a discernible reason why this is happening. So she's just appalled.
Yeah.
So maybe she's going to learn this lesson.
And she's mad at Steve because I almost had him. She still believes that man is Ares. I almost had him, and because you stopped me, these people died. And he is still trying to tell her it's not that simple.
Not that simple. Okay. I mean, when I'm watching the movie the first time, I'm like, are they going to do what I think they're going to do? Yeah. What this movie is leading up to.
Yeah.
Which is, again, that there is no Greek god. and this is a fallen world. And that is quite the statement.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're also saying, I think the other message is, though this world, at times, the Great War seems to be beyond repair, and there's nothing you can do about it, you can still choose to do good.
Yes.
That's a great message. I love that.
That's such a superhero message.
Yeah. So that's what it's building to. And I'm going, are they doing this? Because if they're going to do this, holy crap. Then we get to the final set piece of the movie.
Yeah.
And she gets to Ludendorff. Sorry, audience, I keep messing that up. And she fights him. She's got her God Killer sword. And then they're having some stuff. He's smelling those chemicals and his face is turning
it's so bad.
And then she stabs him.
Yep. And nothing happens.
And then she's hearing the bombs go off still.
Yeah.
And so here is what I think should have happened. She stabs him. Then she talks to Chris Pine, and he says,
"You're saying that monologue that he actually had?"
Yeah, he says, "I know he didn't die, but we have to stop these chemicals. They're still going to go off."
Uh-huh.
This is a bit anticlimactic. She kills this guy, and nothing happens. And he says, maybe we're all to blame. Like, humanity is complex, and don't you think I wish it was just one bad guy?
Yeah.
He says that, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this movie is a masterpiece. If this is what they're doing, this is a masterpiece. So he's saying that, and he's going, I wish it was just that simple, but it's not.
And her response is, I can't do this.
Great.
It's all bigger than me. I'm out. I'm going back home.
And I think, keep all of that.
Yeah.
And then, so what happens is, Chris Pine goes, okay, I have to save these people. I'm going to choose to do good in a world where evil is so prevalent, and it's not simple. So he goes, and him and his team are going to stop these chemicals from being released.
They're going to drop them probably on a country. They were that many.
Yeah, and it's a bad chemical.
It's like the mustard gas.
Yeah. But it deteriorates
it's like
bone
it's a comic book version.
Yeah. And she's just going to go back to Amazon, is what it seems. But then what happens is Ares shows up and he's like, you were right, I'm here.
Yeah.
So it pulls out the rug from under the entire statement that the movie's trying to make, is how it feels to me.
Yeah.
But if that didn't happen, none of the Ares stuff happened, and then the huge climax of the movie is she's headed back to Amazon, and then she goes, you know what? No. And she goes and she helps them stop the chemicals, and she learns, one, that the world is complex, and two, she chooses to do good in a dark world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a big bad guy.
End of story.
And if that happened, I think, personally, this would be the best DCEU movie. Although out of the 4 we've watched so far, this one's definitely the best. And this would be as good as any of the A+ Marvels.
You know, it would be a potentially good idea. So all the stuff in this movie, what you're talking about, yes, Ares doesn't come, that's not part of this. It's all complex like you're talking about. And their endgame version is Ares. Like several movies later, whatever they want to do in the middle.
Yeah.
They could do it later. But to do it in this, if they really feel like they needed to. But to do it in this movie, it is all you're saying.
Yeah.
It could be their Thanos.
Yeah. I just think it uproots everything that the movie's saying.
It also doesn't quite make sense to me. I've never read a Wonder Woman comic. And it's hard to I feel like it's lame to bring this up, but it is okay, so Ares is real. And what I was told is once Ares is killed, war's over. Okay, there's a second world war.
Or not 30, but 20 years later.
Not that long later, there is a second world war. And not only that, we still have Vietnam. We have Korea.
We have General Zod.
We have General Zod.
Doomsday.
So
even in...
none of that is true.
I know.
And you do have to think of it that way because this world takes place in our world, you know?
Yeah.
Like, all that stuff happened.
And I think what they try to do is when Ares shows up, he says, I don't make wars, I just influence people. But that just feels like a cop-out to me. And it's like, well, if you're still putting these ideas in their head, you're still starting wars. So if you're not there to, by the logic of the movie, if you're not there to put these ideas in people's heads, then wars don't happen.
And then the workaround is humans are just sinful and bad.
Yeah.
That's why the other ones
But
happen.
that's what it feels like the movie is saying. And then they're like, no, but everyone is influenced by Ares.
Yep.
And and I still like this movie a lot. I want to stress that. But it's funny when a movie, not funny, but it's just so blatantly obvious to me that this is the rewrite. And it makes no sense to me that it's just like, how do you not see that this movie is like 75% better if this is the ending?
Yep.
Because you're going against the ideology that you've set up the whole movie.
Yep.
But instead, Ares, you have this big long fight, and it's okay. But there are some cool Wonder Woman moments that I liked.
Yeah.
Where she's, using her powers and stuff.
Chris Pine, or Steve, sacrifices himself.
On that plane.
On the plane.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that moment, too, where she can't hear anything, like tinnitus.
But it doesn't have the ringing.
Tinnitus.
Yeah.
And so you can't hear what he's saying, and it's like, well, that is so tragic. And then the like, she does think about what he says, and I like that they have that moment.
Yeah,
it's good.
But I will say, you said that moment where Ares brings Dr. Poison and says, "Kill her." I know you said you liked that moment. That moment felt so out of left field to me.
Okay.
I just was like, what? It's hard.
Well, no, you're right. I think it does too, because especially at that point, Dr. Moreau, who cares what's happening with her? This is so much bigger than her.
Well, and I know that he says, like, you can join me, but right away she's like, no.
Uh-huh.
And then he's like, kill this woman. And I'm going, why?
Well, he's doing the whole thing where he's like a worm in her ear.
Yeah.
Trying to convince her that they deserve it. Like, he's trying to make her a villain. But
it just doesn't.
Well, I feel like that. So that tells me as if that's the Dr. Poison's arc was all leading up to her just being a test for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And when she decided not to kill her, I mean, who knows? Where did she go?
Yeah.
She's still doing poison?
I don't know. It just feels like they're using like shorthand because you've seen it in other movies.
Yeah.
But this movie never was leading up to that moment.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, yeah, she's not what. Okay. It kind of feels like the God killer when she realizes she's the God killer, where I'm just like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know, but I do like what it represents.
Yeah.
But I get
and
I agree
fine.
with what you're saying.
And then the movie wraps up. She writes an email back to Bruce Wayne, and she's like, thanks for getting this photo for me. And it's the whole photo thing. I know that that's from BVS, so that is not on Patty Jenkins. But it is just funny because it's like, yeah, there's also an old photo from like the 1800s that looks exactly like Nicolas Cage, but we're not like, we can make jokes about it, but.
Is that for real?
Yeah, there's a guy that looks like Nicolas Cage in like the 1800s. Yeah, look it up. Go ahead. But I don't know, that's not enough to blackmail Nicolas Cage into doing something you want him to do. Like, who would ever look at that World War I photo and go, that's you? They'd say, hey, this person looks like you. How weird is that? And you'd move on.
Huh? Oh, I think I've seen this.
Yeah. Jordan is looking up the photo. Yeah, go ahead and look it up, folks.
So, does this prove your theory that you think he's an alien?
It is. I mean, I guess I'm disproving what I just said about humanity, but he might be an alien. Yeah. So that's
wild.
But yeah, that's Wonder Woman. I like the movie a lot. I'll probably watch it again someday. I think it's a good movie. Even though I have that huge problem with the ending, I like it more than Man of Steel, BVS, and Suicide Squad by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like this one, I can say without putting an asterisk next to it, I like this movie.
Yeah.
Like Man of Steel, I feel like I had to say, okay, I like this movie kind of, but I have to go through a whole like paragraph of explanation to justify that opinion, you know?
Yeah.
This one's like, no, I like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's good.
What about you? Final thoughts on this movie?
I like it. It's ugly.
So next week this is July now, and folks, guess what? If you go to patreon.com/MICAHMCCAW, that's my name, and it's in the episode notes here, and sign up for $3, you can listen to our episode on Space Jam. That's right, folks. We covered Space Jam this month, and next month on Patreon, we're doing...
People in a trench coat.
What?
People in a trench coat. Stacked up in a trench coat.
Great scene in that. And then in August, we're going to be covering Space Jam: A New Legacy. So I think you're going to want to listen to that. It was a very fun episode.
It was.
And I'm excited to watch the new movie now.
Yeah, me too.
And then if you are as confused as everyone seems to be about this series, next week it is Justice League.
What would people think it would be?
I just have noticed anytime I mention to people, because none of these episodes have come out yet, folks, of the DC universe. Anytime I mention it, people are like, okay, so which movies are you covering?
Oh,
so
because, okay.
It is confusing because it's like, well, there's a Joker movie, there's a Batman movie coming out.
Yeah, right.
Are you doing Snyder Cut? We're not doing Snyder Cut, we're not doing the Batman, and we're not doing Joker. We're just doing the technical theatrical releases of the DC Extended Universe. So the next one up is Justice League. And then we're finally through the purifying fire, and we can cover some good movies after that in the DC universe. That's the last of the straight up bad.
Well, apparently Wonder Woman 1984 is not great.
Well, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
Maybe we're going to love it. Maybe we won't. But that once we get through Justice League, we can look forward to the movies that we're going to watch, is what I mean.
Okay.
So, Justice League next week, and it is the theatrical Joss Whedon version of the movie. The worst movie ever made, maybe. We're covering that next week.
Okay.
So, and if you liked our Suicide Squad episode and liked ranting, because Jordan and I always try and give the movie the benefit of the doubt. Oh, honey, just wait until next week. We are going to nail that thing to a wall and throw whipped cream pies at it all episode long. Thanks for listening.